My name is Kwabena Chenche Henibuati. Many thanks for joining us here on NHIS. Let's start off with the very first one, and it's in the health sector, because we are now told that the Ministry of Health has directed all recruiting agencies under it to commence recruitment processes leading to the employment of all nurses and midwives who completed their training in 2015. Now, the directive comes at the back of threats by several unemployed nurses in the country to embark on a demonstration at the end of this month of a government's failure to place them after completing their programs of study. Let's try and get an understanding of how the process will be. And joining me on phone now is Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman, with some more on this. Tony, good morning. Many thanks for joining us here, sir.
My pleasure.
So tell us really, what form is this likely to take, and does it take effect immediately anyway?
Yeah, thank you. Let me say good morning to our viewers. It's not because we have people who want to demonstrate. That's what we are doing. If you complete a nursing training college, within 10 months, the processes of recruitment should be triggered. So that is why we are doing it. When they came to the ministry, we mentioned to them clearly that very soon they were going to be employed. And they said no, they were going to embark on this demonstration. And we said maybe by the time you even go, or before you go on that demonstration, your recruitment process would have begun. So there wouldn't be the need to embark on that demonstration. So really, it's not the demonstration that has triggered this process, but it was in the pipeline.
But Tony, the concerns raised at the time was that the process had delayed for about 8 months.
The truth is, as I mentioned, the processes must take in between 10 months. You should be able to recruit people. We've not violated that particular regulation. In that range, 8 months, we are still in the range. So, you have to look at people's training processes they complete, they do their service, result from nursing and midwifery council will have to also come out. You have to now look at where and how to place them, how many midwives do you have, how many nurses do you have, and which hospital are you to post them before you start the process. So we have gone through that process and we are ready to start the recruitment process.
So, as things stand now, what are these nurses who completed in 2015 supposed to do?
They have to go to Kolebu, Kompanoti, Tamale Teaching Hospital, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Christian Health Association of Ghana, CHAG, Ghana Health Service, and apply a form, fill that form, submit it back for interview to begin, and then they will be posted to their various hospitals.
Okay, so again, one other thing we are picking is that this is just one part of the entire problem solved, and I'm speaking of a problem because we've spoken to some other graduates, and they tell us that for the past 5 years or so, they are also graduate nurses anyway, but for the past 5 years they've been home and are unemployed, and they are saying, well, if you also do not seek their interest and get them enrolled, they might have to also hit the streets. How about that? What's with that situation now?
I don't know which group is this, but I'm telling you that this is the final group of bonded nurses in the health sector, and I don't think we have any other group who have not been posted. With the exception of maybe any other professionals who may also seek employment or who want to be employed in the sector. Apart from that, we are in the process of exhausting our list.
Okay, so let's finally, before you go anyway, let's talk about these nurses you are saying should visit these facilities you mentioned, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital and a few others. So they go there, pick the forms, and between the period of going there, picking the forms and the time when they are actually employed, I mean, what's the duration? Because like you said in that statement, this is just to commence the process of recruitment.
Yes, as a way, you have to go for the form, fill it, submit before. You have to declare your intention before you're employed. You can't declare your intention on radio and thinking that you'll be employed through the radio. This is the processes we all went through. When we were seeking to be employed at multimedia, you applied, you were called for an interview. So it's the same everywhere.
And I was asking of the duration. How long is likely to take?
Ministry of Health, we will direct agencies to begin the process. I can't say tomorrow next, or next month. But if we should have everybody buying the form today, submitting it today, we'll start the interview tomorrow. But you know, you have people coming from other parts of the country. You have to make sure they all benefit from this particular opportunity. So we will not give a timeline from the ministry's perspective. The implementing agencies, which we've already mentioned, would look at the number they have to recruit, and when they exhaust that list, they will say, okay, it's done. So immediately that is done, it will be submitted back to us, and then we now begin other process. So let's start from where we are now.
Okay.
First things first.
Mr. Goodman, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning. Tony Goodman is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health, and he's been on the phone lines with us, telling us a lot more about that new directive they have given to all the agencies under them. And they are saying that these agencies are supposed to kickstart the process of recruitment, and it has to do with quite a number of graduate nurses who threatened to embark on a demonstration if they were not employed by government. They said the process had delayed by some 8 months or so, and because of that, they were going to embark on that nationwide protest. But as things stand now, well, the ministry tells us that they have put in place measures to ensure that all these persons are recruited. They do, however, say that they are not in the knowing of any group of nurses who claim that they have been unemployed over the past 5 years or so. We've been trying to get in touch with these nurses to get their take on this very issue and whether or not they're even satisfied with what the ministry is saying at this point in time, because I quite clearly remember the last time we spoke to them, they did raise some issues as to commitment on the part of government. They had a bit of concerns with how government had handled quite a number of things. So we are still trying the lines. Once we have them, we'll bring that conversation back to you. But let's still stay on health, because we do know that a 37 military hospital has denied claims that it is partially charging patients who come there for treatment. Now, a notice purportedly posted on the walls of the hospital indicated that patients would be expected to pay part of their bill whilst the NHIS takes up the rest. But Acting Public Relations Officer Joanna Sepe has dismissed that claim.
Well, we actually saw the notice pasted on the wall, but the hospital hasn't got anything to do with it. It was just a brief discussion as to see the way forward for the hospital.
The way forward as in?
Forward as in NHIS charges. And for example, when somebody goes through a cesarean section, NHIS pays 175 to the hospital. But when you calculate everything, it amounts to over 600 cedis. So that means the hospital is losing. So this was just a brief discussion to see the way forward, just to see the smooth running of the hospital.
So does it mean that the hospital is also considering this issue about co-payment too as well?
No, not at all. The hospital hasn't asked anybody to pay for the hospital fee. That's NHIS will pay part, and then the hospital too will pay part, or the individual too will also pay part. The hospital hasn't said anything like that. Okay. Apparently, there are a lot of patients who visit the facility daily. We have about 2,000 plus patients visiting the polyclinic alone. That's the civilian polyclinic and other departments. So let's say we have over 3,000 or 5,000 patients visiting the hospital in a week. So when you look at this figure, you will notice that if NHIS is giving just a small amount to the hospital and we are bearing the higher cost, that means the hospital is losing.
Well, some NHIS card bearers who visited a 37 military hospital yesterday, however, tell Joy News they had to pay cash for some of the services they received.
I've been coming here for I think 4 months now. It doesn't cover the scan. I did my scan outside 37 I bought the drugs here. I paid for everything. I gave them the card, but they didn't accept it. So I paid for my drugs, but with the consultation, the NHIS covers it. And then, well, yes, I did a lab test, and they didn't charge me anything. So for the lab and the consultation, I didn't pay for that. Yeah.
When you come, they have to verify you and make sure that you've authenticated yourself that your NHI is working. Then they'll give you a sheet. You give them a photocopy of your NHI. They'll give you a sheet and go and see the doctor. You join the queue and see the doctor. I've been to polyclinic before for my first delivery, and it was working. And I think about 3 weeks or a month ago, I sent my daughter, my small baby, to Achimota Polyclinic, and I didn't pay anything. It was only some of the medicines that they said they didn't have, so I have to go to the drugstore and buy. But some I was given, and I didn't pay anything for the whole consultation and everything. It works very well.
Okay, so we've been trying to get in touch with the National Health Insurance Authority to give us some clarity on this very issue. We've been unsuccessful so far. I don't know, we seem to be having a bit of a challenge with some of our phone lines. We're still working it. Once we have that, we'll bring you that very conversation with the National Health Insurance Authority as far as this issue of NHIS card bearers not getting access to health care. But let's now put health aside and let's talk about some sports activity now. And the management of Accra House of Folk is expected to meet to consider the club's next line of action after the club's coach Kenichi failed to show up for a scheduled meeting over his decision to expose the club's internal matters. The Japanese trainer was summoned to a meeting on Monday afternoon over his statements on Facebook, which management of the club believes exposed the club. Now, what really did Kenichi say about the club, and what is the club hoping to do over this very issue? I do not really have so much information on that. But joining me in studio now with a lot more on this very issue is Baba Tando of our sports desk, and she has been following keenly the issues and has a lot more updates, and is now joining me with those very updates. Baba, many thanks for joining us here on this desk.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So, I mean, what's this whole issue with Kenichi Yashuhashi and the Accra House of Folk? Something about he exposing the club, and I don't know, but what's really happening?
I like to call it the Heart Kenichi Gate because Heart of Folk are saying it's a scandal. I mean, the whole issue is that we woke up on Sunday morning after their MTN FA Cup fixture with Summertex, which they lost 4-2 on penalties after a goalless draw of regulation during regulation time. We woke up to this note on Facebook from Kenichi Yatsuhashi, and just to summarize what he was actually saying, it was about the fact that he hadn't received his salary in 2 months, and the fact that he didn't think it was right that his salary was going to be paid while the people he works with, that's the players and the technical and backroom staff, did not receive their salary. He didn't agree to that one. So those were the details he decided to put out on Facebook. He says, first, my salaries were unpaid for 2 months, for February 2016 and March 2016, and as of 4th of April 2016, I have a bank statement to back it up. All right. He also went ahead to state his salary, how much he earns, and we have all known now that he takes $2,000 from Heart to Folk. And then he goes on to say our player salaries and promised winning bonuses are unpaid, and our assistant coaches have not received their salaries and winning bonuses for a few months. I was told by players and assistant coaches that it's reached a point they could not carry on any longer, understandably. So he says he had a meeting with the board on Monday, 3rd of April, and asked to pay for our players and assistant coaches. Since then, nevertheless, our players and assistant coaches have not been paid. However, the management people tried to pay me. So basically, this is it.
So essentially, they were trying to sort him out while they figured out
and
ways of handling.
This is a white guy, and this is the difference between foreign coaches, especially the white ones, and our local coaches. Okay, a local coach would have kept mute over this issue
and taking his money.
Exactly. And then I wouldn't say would not care about the players and the others, but then, well, yes, management says they will pay you, so you have to wait and all of that. But this is a white coach. The players will give him the results that he wants, and that could give him the necessary, acknowledgement and all of that he will need from his management and probably from other teams. So if he doesn't get what he wants from his players, he's nobody then, and he doesn't reach his targets. So yesterday I actually was at the Hearts of Folk Secretariat. I mean, they ran away from our calls virtually the whole day. So I just marched to the place with my camera and sat down with Administrative Manager Hackman Edu of Hearts of Folk, Hackman Edu, and posed a few questions to him. First of all, I asked him if indeed management had cited the post that Kenichi Yatsuhashi put on his Facebook page, and this was his response.
Yeah, actually, I'm aware that he said, one, we have not been paying him well, and then for 2 months we have not paid him. I'm aware.
And the players and the backroom staff? Of
course, they are all part of the outstandings.
Is there any truth in what you saw?
That is why I told you that. In fact, all this day I've decided not to talk to this issue, simply because I want the management to come out with the official position before I also personally comment or carry whatever they have decided out. So for now, I wouldn't like to confirm or deny.
Why not? If he lied, just say he lied. If he spoke the truth, he said the truth. What is wrong with saying whether it's true or not?
My sister, if I should say yes, we are owing the players, we are owing all of them, including the office staff. But when it comes to the football industry, this is not strange. Even though it's not the best, because it's not the best to owe your staff. But when it comes to football, I can inform you that I can tell you that if you get back to people like Amankam Reku and Co., they were winning all right, but their situation was worse than it is now. There were times that they were owed more than so many months, but they were still winning. So when it comes to football or this field, and maybe 2 months outstanding salary, and the painful aspect of it, before we traveled last Thursday, the chairman, committee chairman informed me that he was with the board chairman, and the board chairman was prepared to give him some money for payment of the outstandings early this week, before even the midweek game. So it was a surprise to us that with all this effort, this issue will come up around this time.
And that was administrative manager for the Phobians, Accra to Folk, that very club, and Baba Tando has been speaking to him, and Baba is still here with me, giving us a lot more as to what really this issue is between the club and Kenichi.
The Hearts Kenichi.
Okay, so you spoke to him, and he's trying to give us some answers there. I don't know whether everybody is quite content with what he said.
The main issue here is if indeed Kenichi lied in his statement. He has accepted that no, he did not lie. Then I said, okay, was there any truth in what he said? Says, well, yes. They don't want to say yes, they don't want to say no. But the truth is that the guy spoke the truth. Okay, so I asked, there was this scenario where Kenichi was invited by the management, apparently to give him his salary. Exactly. Not yesterday, actually, before yesterday. They met him alone without his players or technical team. So they met him and wanted to pay him his salary alone. And he said, no, I won't accept it. So I asked again Hackman Edu, the administrative manager of Hearts of Folk, why this clandestine way of wanting to pay Kenichi? And again, this was his response to me. So do I take it that management and the board are aggrieved by Yatsuhashi's move?
Why not? Certainly we should be aggrieved, because if you think you are doing your best and the person does not see what you are doing for him, it's very painful. Yes.
Now, I want clarification on this particular scenario. How was it, or how did it happen that you invited Yatsuhashi to give him some outstanding monies that you owed him in terms of salary? How did it happen that way, so that the other people he works with, his backroom staff, his players, were not part of that meeting to also get their share of their outstanding monies? How did it happen that the management met Yatsuhashi separately?
You see, the whole issue is that, one, his payment is in USD. No, his contract is USD dollars, while the rest are CD components. So most of the time when we are doing payment of salaries, we have to separate his from others, because we convert at the prevailing rate. And for that reason, you cannot add it because we prepare salaries sometimes way in advance before the end of the month. Now, because of that, and the other reason is that when he came, because he was not paid a signing-on fee, he demanded advance payment. So it's like at the time that we had paid him a salary for a certain month, which the others have not gotten there. I don't know whether you are getting the picture. We paid the rest maybe up to October, but he started in November, so we had to pay him for November. So it's like always he's 1 month ahead of the rest. So it got to a point that we have to give him, because we had some few dollars from the DSTV sponsorship. And we thought that once we have the dollars there and he is paid in dollars, why don't we pay him? Then as we take steps to pay the others, we'll take it.
I mean, I don't see how currency should be a challenge. Difference in currency should be a challenge. If you pay him in US dollars and you pay the others in CDs, yes. So why don't you pay them together? Pay the US dollars and then pay the CDs. Why did it have to be somebody? Now it's looking like you met him separately in a corner to, to want to pay him and see what you do about the others and settle them later.
No, not that he even met. He wrote to demand for payment of outstanding salaries. And like I told you, he is 1 month ahead of others. So anytime you pay him today, we pay together. But once you pay, his will be for a coming month or a month ahead of the others. You understand? So and if you take his figure alone out of the whole total, you can see that is just a percentage, a small percentage or portion of the total. The rest, because we compute it in the CD, as for him, we always wait for the last day of the payment to know the rate and then use it to convert. If we cannot pay in the dollars, then we pay him in CDs.
Okay, so Baba is still telling us a lot more about this very issue between Accra House of Folk and
I think so.
I think I might have to call it so, because I really don't know how else to put it, because the club was doing pretty well.
The club actually is doing pretty well. Kenichi came in with a different mentality for training, for field work, for everything. He has a total different, approach to all of these things. So Hearts of Folk players will start a game right from the blast of the whistle to the end of the game and not be tired. Unlike the previous times when we used to see, by the 20th minute, 30th minute, they are out of steam and then, they start dipping. But now it's different. So, and Hearts of Folk should be very careful. There are so many eyes on this coach. There are so many
including
eyes.
My team,
of course, Asante Kotoko. Exactly. But you know what? Kotoko is looking at this guy. Other teams outside of Ghana are looking at him. They know he takes $2,000 now. So, I mean, what's wrong with giving him $5,000? He would go for it, you understand? So, Hearts of Folk should be very, very careful in how they would want to approach this issue. And again, Hearts of Folk have also come out to say that this gentleman or this coach is actually asking for a salary increment. It is not true.
The coach says it's not true.
The coach says it's not true. And I actually spoke to Hearts of Folk and they said it's not true.
Okay.
What really is happening is that his current contract says that he should gives him the $2,000, but Hearts of Folk, seeing that he's a good coach and will give him good results, they want to extend his contract. So seeing that Hearts of Folk also kind of are hailing him and holding him in high esteem, he's thinking that, well, his worth must go up. I mean, it must be worth as well. So he's asking for an increment in the contract extension, not the current one that he's actually holding. So let's get these things clear. Now, after this whole, brouhaha with the administrative manager, Hackman Edo, of course, we saw how he was struggling to answer some of the questions. Yes. So I actually asked Opare Ado, who is the public relations officer of the club, how that department, the communication department, actually reacted to this issue and what the sanctions or punitive measures are going to be going forward. So this is his response.
Right. I think that it came as a surprise, not only to me, but then the rest of the management members and the board members. I made a few calls to some board members who all expressed that shock, because it is a norm at this club that anything, any player, any coach, any technical member wants to get out to the media, it has to come through me, or at least I have to sanction it before. So we were all surprised that I didn't know anything about it, then he put it out there.
What do you think pushed him to, bring out such a statement?
Well, if you look at it from a very professional point of view, I think that it is our differences in cultural background. If not, no local coach would ever do this. So once he's also coming from somewhere different, he felt that, look, this is something that he doesn't have to keep in him. He thinks that he has to bring it out. But then, if you want to bring said things out, we have proper channel that you have to go through, because this is not part of your contract. If you do that, it amounts to breaching your part of that contract, which is not professional enough.
So obviously nobody is happy with this. Are you disappointed at the fact that he spoke the truth in a bad manner, or I doubt he lied.
Well, not disappointed that he spoke the truth, but you could have spoken the truth in a much more proper way, that your issues could have been much more addressed in a faster way. Then we all know some peace. Don't forget that we started the league stronger. All of a sudden, things don't seem to be going the way that we wanted. We lost the match against Samates, so we need some peace to be able to go into the next 2 days match against Wafa. This is not what we need at this moment. If he had any grievances, nobody is stopping him. He would have come to me or come to the strategy committee or even write to the board of directors, and it would have been addressed.
So going forward, I mean, how do you think you're going to manage this kind of situation so that it will not arise anymore?
Well, I think that we all have to let everybody, including Coach Kenny, understand that whatever communication channel that the club has put in place, we have to respect it. If he wants to go out to the media to tell them everything, he has to first come to me. I will also take the issue to the board or the rest of the management. Then we'll deliberate on it. Then we can give him that permission. If that is respected, I think we can cut off all of these problems, that we can enjoy some peace eventually.
Is he going to get any sanction for this?
Well, we are hoping to come up with a press statement before the close of today. Then the club will officially make its position known to everybody. We are not looking at, because we want to create an enabling environment to create that peace that we need to tackle the 23 matches. We don't want to muddy the waters yet, so we'll handle it in a very professional manner so that we can go ahead and achieve something at the end of the season.
And that was Public Relations Officer for Accra Hearts of Oak. And Baba, in concluding, so we still don't know what the club is. Well, they are saying they're going to meet anyway and then decide.
What do they want to decide on?
The
fact that the guy spoke the truth in the wrong way.
I really don't know. Whether or not
it's high time our clubs here act as professional as they claim they are. You don't want the guy to say this, do the right thing. It's as simple as that. You don't want the guy to say you owe me, pay him. You don't want the guy to say you owe my players, pay them. You don't want him to say you owe my technical team, pay them off and let him keep news. If he came and things were done right, do you think he was going to put up this post? I doubt he was going to do any such thing. So you want people to talk good about your club, do good. You don't want them washing your dirty linen in public, keep them clean at home. And it's as simple as that.
But Kenichi is yet to respond to these things that the club is saying, right?
What else? He has put out what he wants to say. The rest is for the club. You see,
but how do we see this playing out eventually?
The next thing is let him go or let him stay. And I doubt Hearts of Oak are going to make this guy go. He will not go. They will make him stay.
And how are they going to raise the money to
They must. That is why they are in football administration.
Interesting.
You see, they say cut your coat according to this. Cut your what? How do they say?
Yeah,
cut your coat
according to your clothes.
According to the size of your clothes.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready for it, don't do it. Don't even start.
Okay. Baba, many thanks for your time on news
Thank you.
this morning. That was my colleague Baba Tando of Joy Sports, bringing us a lot more clarity on that very issue between Kenichi Yasuhashi, the head coach of Accra Hearts of Oak, and management of the team. I mean, there's been a lot of noise, a lot of comments on this very issue. We'll bring you a lot more later on, I'm sure, when the sports team join us a bit later on with sports here on News Desk and in other subsequent bulletins. But time now for us to take a break on News Desk. When we come back, we'll bring you some business news. Stay with us.